Moving right along here to the stay stitching in step number 11, and then also making the darts. So this is what we're doing now, and I have my pieces just for frame of reference. I have them laid out like this on the table. So these are my two pieces, and I already did this one. So here's one dart, and here's my second dart. And then my stay stitching just goes all along the top here. And then I have to do this for this second piece. So what I've done here, I'll zoom in here so you can see it. I've already taken the chalk, my tailor's chalk, and I've marked out how I want my darts. Well, not how I want them, how they're printed on the paper. So here's one dart. And then my other dart is right here. So one dart, two dart, and then at the top here I'm just going to stay stitch 5/8 just from one end to the other. So I'll show you what this looks like whenever it's pinned before I start. So these are my two darts pinned. Here's the first one, the smaller one, and then the second one right here. And I'm just going to follow that chalk basting that I already did. I'm just going to follow that to make the seam, and then I'll stop at the end of the dot points. Okay, so let's make these darts. I'm gonna go to my starting point here. Just following that very faint chalk line. Alright, there's my second point. And then follow the rest of the chalk line. To my last point. I'm back stitching just a little bit. And I usually go to the ends here and I just do a single or a double knot just to further make that stream a little, just to make that seam a little stronger. Here's my next dart. I'm going to do the same thing. Start at the top point, stitch, back stitch a little, and then follow my chalk line. Alright. There's my second point. Okay. Following the chalk line to the end point. Alright. So then I'll go to all of these leftover strings. Just knot them once or twice before I trim them. Just to make sure everything stays in place. Now I'm going to do my 5/8 stay stitch at the top. So here we are at the top of that pattern piece. stay stitching all the way across. So now both of those pieces are done. The next step, we're going to be putting them together and creating the vent in the back with this piece. So let's do that now. So the next thing that we need to do is actually sew our back dress pieces together. So those are the pieces we just made the darts on. And this is the vent, the dress vent, and then this is the rest of the back, and those two right pieces I've just put together. So both back dress pieces right sides together, and then you're going to pin those. The first thing we're going to do is sew this first stitch, which I've already marked with chalk. There you go. I tried to do a yellow so you could see it better. So this is going to get basted from the hem line to this dot right here. And then once I get to the dot, I'll be switching to a 5/8 seam, and I'm going to stitch that, but I will be stopping at the notch. So here's my notch, and then I'll do a back stitch here. So let's do that together now. So for this first section, using a long machine stitch, you're going to just baste that vent. So I have mine set on 5. Just doing a loose stitch to hold those together for now. Okay. And once I get to my dot, I'll be switching. And for me, I just need to turn my machine on and back off, and it will automatically reset my stitch. And then I'll start stitching a 5/8 inch seam. Okay, and here's my notch. So I'll stitch 5/8 up to the notch, and then I'll back stitch. So just to recap one more time, if anybody had any problems with that, you're basting with a long stitch until you get to the dot. When you get to the dot, you're going to switch to a regular stitch at 5/8, and you're going to back stitch there also. Keep stitching, 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 and then when you get to your notch here, you'll do a back stitch, and then you're done. Now for the back vent piece, the instructions say to turn in the seam allowance 1/4. I am going to do mine 1/4 and then another 1/4. And the instructions don't say to do that. I'm just doing that because I don't like having an unclean, unfinished edge. So I'm just going to turn mine in a 1/4 and then another 1/4. And I'm just going to freehand this because I've been doing them a long time and I'm not that concerned about it. If you feel like you need to pin yours, then by all means go right ahead. Alright. Smooth out any bumps I have here. I like to go down lower, turn in a 1/4 and then another 1/4. And then if I just pull the fabric taunt, it'll usually wrap the rest for me. Okay. And you're going to do this on both of your vent pieces. So after you do one side, turn around and do the same thing to the other. Whether you do just the 1/4 or you do a double fold. Okay, so there's one of my vents finished. Now I'm just going to turn around and do the exact same thing to the other one. Turning in a 4th and another 4th, pulling the fabric tight. Okay, this should be the last one. Back stitching those a little. Okay, now I'm going to go through and cut off any of my extra threads, like these, cut off these extra threads, and I'm going to press this entire seam open. So press this open and continue to press through this original stitching that you did to the notch as well. So press all of that open and then come back. So now to finish off the vent, we're just going to start about 1 inch above where our dot would be. You can see my dot better on the other side of the fabric, right there. But that's about right here. And we're going to stay stitch from here, and then when we get to where the dot would be, which is basically a 5/8, you will start turning and you'll stitch 5/8 to close off this. So here we go. This is about 1 inch above. Just stay stitching that. And then if you need to remark your dot on the other side because you're nervous about missing it, you can. I don't feel like I need to, so I'm just going to keep going. And then when it looks like it's at about 5/8, which I can check here on my machine, I'll start stitching this closed. And I'm going to do a little bit of a back stitch here just to make that seam a little stronger. Alright, so this is what it looks like. Here's the top 1 inch and here's the turn. And you can still see the remaining basting stitching here below. Okay, so this is the almost finished back piece here. And here's my vent, and I'm just going to take the scissors and clip from the small dot here to the little corner here. So right where this flap needs to open and close, you're just going to go in and cut to that seam that you just reinforced at the turn so that this will move. So basically by clipping that, it will actually be able to function like a real vent in the back as you move around. Okay, now the last step of the vent. This is my opened dress here, and you can see the vent here. I'm going to push the vent to the other side, and then you're going to baste this down. Set your machine stitch to a longer stitch. I'm going to set mine at 5, and then just baste from the seam to the end of the vent. Okay? And it's important that you don't go too far over the end of the vent, because you're going to be using that line to do a nice finish on the outside. So here's what that looks like on the outside. So now to finish this off, I'm going to set my stitch again, and I always do mine just from turning my machine on and off. And I'm going to start right at the seam line, stitch a little bit, do a little bit of a back stitch, and then go right on top of that line, that basting that I just did. And then back stitch that as well. Okay? And then once you trim out your leftover threads, you will have finally finished the vent of your dress.